make the decision. Decide for yourself. Say, this is where I want to go. This is what I want to do. Oh, you spend $10,000 a month. So that's what you need to reach financial freedom. All right, now we just work backwards. There's tons of ways to do it. The number one thing, if you don't have your mind set on what you want to do, then you're just going to stay where you're at, where you're comfortable.
Welcome, everyone, to the Road Less Travel Show. This is a show about people that were successful in a previous career and left that career to go down a different path. I'm your co-host, Richard Coyne.
And I'm your co-host, Bill Zahller.
On today's show, we're so pleased to have Matt Amabile with us. Matt, welcome.
Richard, Bill, appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on. Excited to dig in today.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, Matt, thanks again for being on the Road Less Travel Show. To start with, can you tell our listeners a little bit about your background, what your former career was, and how long you're in that line of work?
Yeah, so I was working in sales. That was my W-2 job. Worked in sales, honestly, since I was in high school. Went into a sales position at a company my dad was working at, moved up from like the warehouse into actual out in the field sales. Went to college, studied supply chain management. Still wanted to use my sales degree. So after that, I went into a logistics sales position. Hopped jobs around 3 times to all in the logistics field sales positions, increasing my income each time by, about 40% or so. And each of those within like a 6 to 7, 8 month jump. And then, wow. Recently out of my job and, building up the passive income and living off of that.
Excellent.
Nice.
So what did you transition into to replace that income with passive income?
Yeah, so I am in right out of college. I bought a 4-unit property and I house hacked. So I lived in 1 unit and I rented out the other 3. And that building alone lets me live for free and it makes me an extra $1,500 a month. So I saw the power of multifamily real estate and I kept buying more of that real estate to today where I'm at just 16 apartments and they bring in around $7,000 a month passive. And I'm actually working right now on closing up a 43 unit portfolio. So it's all multifamily residential real estate.
Great. And what geographical areas do you focus on? Is there any particular areas you look at, or is it opportunity driven or?
Yeah, so it's actually all in one town. It's Phillipsburg, New Jersey. That's where I grew up until like 7 years old. My parents moved us out of that area because they thought they didn't want me to go to school there. Not a good school district, at least at that time. It started coming up over the past years, but each of my properties is within a 5-minute walk of the other one. So it makes it so easy. When I was personally managing it myself, it made it very easy for me to, walk around, see what's going on and get the ducks in a row.
That's great. Yeah.
There's something to be said for knowing your market inside and out. So there you go.
That's it. And this 43 unit portfolio, I decided, let's just be an expert in this market. There's not a lot of young guys in this market. Let me build my footing as this young guy. So the older guys who own all the real estate, they see me coming up and they know, all right, when it's time to let my real estate go, it can go to this kid, Matt. And, that's how I got this 43 unit portfolio. That's how I, build that relationship. And I have investors that I've worked with before and, we're taking that down.
Great. Very nice. Very nice. So, since it sounds like you may have engaged some property management firm since, starting out, is that true? Is that right?
So I actually, one of my tenants, Jen is her name. She was a really good tenant for me. She was doing some Airbnb work for me because I Airbnb my apartment out while I'm out of the country or out of town. And, she was just doing my cleanings, started doing some work with some of my tenants at that property. And I just decided, let me create some SOPs, standard operating procedures for my business. let me make it like if I wasn't here, this business could be run by someone else, and let me just see how she does with it. So I gave her these SOPs, let her take over, and so far she has been killing it. So I'm kind of forming my own little property management
Nice.
company as we go, and that's actually allowing me to bring in other investors and have them have the confidence in me because I'm building up this footing as almost as a PM, private PM service.
Nice. That's very cool. I mean, we know of other folks that do syndications like Bill and I do that, eventually bring in-house property management, but when you're talking 100-unit apartment buildings, there's a lot of cost associated with running the property management side. So you kind of have to scale it to really where you need a lot more units than just 100 to do your own company. But the way you're doing is actually super cool. You've got a trusted person. She lives on property. You've given her this, and then you give her more, and she's killing it, like you said. And there you go. Nice. That's awesome.
Right.
Very
And
cool.
it's incremental. And this 43 unit, likely the next hire that will be in that property management group there, this 43 unit portfolio, I know the person who was managing all of that. And because I own one of the properties right next to a 10 unit building that's in that portfolio, and they manage that whole portfolio. So now me taking over that portfolio, I likely will keep them on to keep managing that and just bring the business together as a whole, and bring them in on the SOPs.
Nice. Okay. Very cool. Very cool. So Matt, look back to your logistics days. Is there a funny story you can share with us?
Yeah. Well, the crazy thing is when I was working back in those days, I learned about financial freedom early. So I knew I wanted to go after that. I knew that was the end goal. I wanted to live off of passive income. So I never really had an allegiance to any company that I was at. I always knew I was jumping. So like I said earlier, I started out making 55K. And then 6 months later, after I got my training and established myself as a pretty good performer in that company, I jumped to another company, and that jumped my income up to 75K. And then another 6 months later, I jumped my income up to 110K after leaving there. And then like 6 months after that, same company, but I got an increase up to 150K. So I'm 2 years out of school and I'm making around 150K. And then, so I was fine with the money. So I wasn't trying to increase the income anymore. Now it was about my time. So I just became very efficient at what I was doing. I had a quota of what I had to meet. And by the end of my career, probably the last 6 months of my job, I was working maybe 2 hours a week, and I was still making that 150K. And, that was hard for me to give up. That was really hard for me to quit. But, I was supposed to be working 40 hours a week. One of my close coworkers actually took over as my boss, and I just had to be upfront with him. I had to tell him, like, this is the situation. This is what I do. I do this. How do you want to proceed here? And they were like, it's probably best if we just part ways at this point, because I can't let you work 2 hours a week. And I was like, man, I understand, and I appreciate the honesty.
Yeah. Wow, that's impressive that you were able to meet your objectives and achieve your. That's the thing that I've always said about, especially because of COVID, everybody moved remotely, and then if you manage yourself, get your job done. The self-motivated people are going to drive and going to get it done. The fact that you were able to get it done in so much less time than was actually really allocated and hit all of your goals is incredible. But again, it's too bad you had to have that conversation with the new boss, because obviously but good for you. So again, that's quite an achievement. And the other thing also that I'm going to call out as very, very impressive is that you at a young age, one, already understood financial freedom. Two, really saw that the path to getting there is ultimately to drive and up your passive income. Then at that point, you've got the freedom to do anything you want. So Very cool. Very cool. Like
Yeah.
we talk about it quite frequently that, again, we really advocate for other people to learn about multiple streams of income and other streams rather than just relying on a paycheck, because there's no loyalty from companies to employees anymore at all. And quite honestly, I wish I had learned that lesson myself a lot younger. But anyway.
Yeah. There's no loyalty. They could drop you whenever. I mean, I was just in Paris, France for a month, and Paris, the government is increasing without even a vote. They increased the retirement age from 62 years old to 64 years old. There are strikes. It's going crazy out there. Like, that you might not even have a say in that stuff. And the beautiful thing about being younger too, when you get into this stuff, is typically your responsibilities are going to be much lower. Maybe you don't have the girlfriend, the wife, the boyfriend, the husband, the kid, the dog, whatever, a house. If you only need $3,000, $4,000 to live off of, it's much easier to build up $3,000, $4,000 a month than it is to have the kids and the wife or the husband. And now you need $10,000, $12,000, $15,000 a month. It seems like a lot bigger task to get done.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah.
Of course, on your hourly rate, if you only work 2 hours a week, that's about 100 hours a year for $150,000. That's a pretty good hourly rate. So extract that out.
that was the toughest part, man. Like, I'm like, my hourly rate is just ridiculous. And I made a podcast myself on it. I have a podcast called Financial Freedom Fast Podcast. And I made a podcast that's like how I was making, I was making like $2,000 an hour or something, stupid. Because if you maximize your efficiency and you keep your productivity the same and you just decrease the amount of time, your dollars per hour increase. So I'm all about being efficient. I don't like to put a ton of time into stuff. I like to, at first it takes a while, but like making my first podcast took a while. Now it's like done in, a few steps.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. Well, Matt, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but what was kind of a deciding factor for getting you to leave the work? I mean, at one point it came down to the amount of time you're willing to put in, but as you were building up to that, was it a plan? Like you said, you understood financial freedom to begin with, and you're just kind of planning for this day and it was just going to happen sooner or later. Was that kind of the scenario, or?
Yeah, so I was always planning on being able to get there. I have a coach through a company called Jason Drees Coaching, and I was just always talking about financial freedom. He's like, why don't you take a look at your actual numbers, see what you're bringing in every month, and see if you're there. You might be there. So I looked at my numbers. I was there. So at that point, I was like, all right, I could technically quit my job and be okay with it at any time. But that was like 6 months before I actually quit my job. So I knew I was financially free. So I started working those smaller, like low hours. And I just had, what it was for me, Bill, was the stress, the underlying stress of like, man, when are they going to find out I'm only working 2 hours a week? When are they going to call me out? And, so it was on me and it was just sitting there. And then, the opportunity came where, one of my friends took over as a boss. I didn't want to do them wrong. I wanted to be honest and see where they were at. They said, it's probably best for you to just head out. And, that was my opportunity. So I said, all right, I'm out of here. Like, I'm done. And the next week, I even told them, like, I had just done a month in Oregon. They didn't even know I was out there. The next week, I was leaving for a month in Puerto Rico. So I was like, I'm headed to Puerto Rico next week. So am I working for you for 2 hours a week or am I not? Because I'm not doing more. And they said, it's best if you go. So the stress and just the situational opportunity that came to me.
Right. Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome. So Matt, maybe as you were starting to buy real estate, and eventually you've been able to fully replace your income passively, et cetera. Were there initially some obstacles you had to overcome?
Yeah. Well, my first investment was, again, a 4-unit property. It was a full gut renovation. And I'm the type of guy, like, I don't know how to swing a hammer. So I did this with a 203K loan. I only had to bring in put down 3.5% of the purchase price and the renovation. So it was a foreclosed property, condemned property, had no idea I was going to have to do all this work. It was a $145,000 purchase because it was foreclosed, then $120,000 reno. Huge reno, had no idea about it. I had contractors drop off. The bank needed new contractors to get approved. I had people break in. One of my contractors fought somebody who was robbing the place, like court things, like the town got involved. There was issues. It took me a year and a half to finish this thing, so it delayed me, a huge delay. And, that was probably my biggest struggle right ahead is I went so big on this first project, but, I wouldn't do it any other way. I think it taught me through all of that crap that I had to go through. Everything else after that was like easy, buying turnkey stuff at a discount, no problem there. And then when there are these bigger value adds, like I did a value add 6 unit that we bought for 600, we put 70K into, and it valued out at 1.25 million.
Wow.
I knew how to do these renovations, so I wasn't scared to do it. So the biggest thing was like just jumping in and having this big project, like a hippo that I had to take over and make it work. But it taught me the most out of anything I've done so far.
Nice. Now, just real quick on that type of loan you got for the first one, the 4 unit, are you able to do some of the work yourself? Again, I get it. You felt challenged as far as your skill level to do some of the work, but were you able to do some of the work, or did I have to all be with outside contractors?
So that project, if with that loan, if it's under 15K, it's a 203K like accelerated loan. So the bank doesn't even vet your contractors. They'll just give you like 15 grand to go do it. You show them, you send them pictures of the work, all that, and they send you the money to get done. So you could do that yourself. There are workarounds. Not going to suggest them, not going to say I didn't or did not do these, but you could have a contractor come in, say, we're going to do this work. This is how much it's going to cost. Get them to put their license down, and you could do the work. Realistically, if you want to do that. I did have like small little things that, I had to do, but it was nothing nothing big. But there's workarounds for it.
Sure. But again, like you said, it was a full gut. So obviously there was some stuff you definitely had to have outside contractors for plumbing, electrical, and obviously certain other things to make sure it was done to code and all that good stuff. So yeah, very cool.
Right. And you could imagine being, being this kid who, my younger age, my brother was always a handyman. My dad, he did all the work with my dad, worked on the cars, worked on the house. And I was just they let me hang out because my brother knew how to do everything. So me getting into this property and having there be like structural work and, needing to build plans for architectural plans for that structural work and doing work outside. I was cheaper. I was like not making a lot of money. I wanted to save as much as I can. I drew up the architectural plans myself and like had to get these passed. I was able to, figure out all these different things and get them passed from the town. Yeah, crazy. But being someone who didn't know how to do it, it's possible to learn. It just takes a little bit of time and effort.
Right. Nice.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, man, as you think back, and maybe it's your fourplex you were describing or one of the other deals you had, what was one of your first victories that really convinced you were on the right path? This is achievable. You're making the right steps and moving toward your financial freedom.
Yeah, honestly, I think there's 2. I would say that 4 unit, that's a pretty obvious one. That was big. I finally got it done, got renters in, and it was making money, and it's doing well. Just it rents right now for fully around $3,900 while I'm still living in one apartment, and my payments on that every month, mortgage, taxes, insurance, and utilities are $2,200. So it nets a solid amount. And like while I'm out here, I Airbnb'd it for the past month and a half. It made me an extra $4,000. It does great. So like the cash flow from that, huge, like, whoa, this is real estate. This stuff works. I can keep doing this. The next one big boom for me was the 6 unit, where, I saw this value add, and I saw the ability to put down 600, put in 100, you're all in for 700. It values out at 1.25. Now you do a 75% pullout on that, and you're getting a check for around 950 grand with a loan at 700 grand. You make that, you get that spread in a refi check, you get 250 grand. Well, I'm split at 50-50. I get 100 grand in my pocket, and I didn't put $1 into this thing. I just managed it, and it's going to cash flow me 2 grand a month for the rest of my life.
Wow.
So like, these things are the value add and the cash flow from real estate. Huge, huge realizations.
Right. And that's what, we Richard and I were talking about the hard assets, that in inflation, right? It's 2000 now, but it's indexed for inflation, right? As inflation, you can rents go up over time and all that. Your debt stays fixed.
Right.
So you're getting that spread in there, just becomes more beneficial as you go.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, your costs are going to go up too, right? Utilities go up in some areas, but I mean, the hope and what has been going on pretty greatly is like rents are just rising. And the area that I bought in, the reason I bought there is that rents hadn't caught up with all of New Jersey yet. And New Jersey's a pretty high rent state, but rents hadn't caught up yet. Mm-hmm. And prices for the rent that was there, prices hadn't caught up to them. So the rent to price ratio was pretty great. I don't know if you guys follow like the 1% rule, but it's, you have to buy, most likely your property will cash flow if you buy a property that brings in a gross monthly rent amount that is 1% of the purchase price of the property. So if you're buying $100,000 property and your monthly rents are $1,000, you're probably going to cash flow. These properties that I was buying were bringing in around 1.7%, 1.7% rent ratios, which is, that's what really attracted me there.
Right. So pretty good numbers. Yeah. And again, you knew the market. So the fact of it is that having those combination of economic factors, meaning the price of the purchases as well as the rents they were driving, that's incredible. That's a diamond in the rough, man. Wow. Nice.
Right. And once you learn too, just for your listeners, like once you learn your area, your area, if you do just want to focus on one area, you'll know like, oh, that's a duplex. Or if you're going smaller, that's a duplex that each unit will rent for $1,400 a month. So there's $2,800 in monthly income. And I know that, my offer price on this can be $200,000 or $180,000, whatever it is. So that makes it you able to, put in those offers like quick. You don't have to think about them. You know what to offer. You know what your price is.
Yep. Nice. So Matt, in your new world, obviously you've achieved financial freedom. You're out, and able to travel and do what you want. You've kind of got your place, producing for you too by Airbnb it while you're out. But along this journey you're on now, is there a funny story that you can share? Something that's happened to you recently?
Oh, funny stories. I mean, there's a bunch of things that don't go the way that I think they're going to go. Like I mentioned to you guys that I'm in Paris, right? And I buy a flight to come out to Barcelona, and my flights and I'm not allowed to fly out here because I travel with my dog. I can fly from the US to Paris with my dog, but I can't fly from Paris to Barcelona with my dog. So I have to buy a train. So I buy my trains. My trains, they all get canceled because there's huge strikes all going on throughout Paris. So then my Barcelona trip gets delayed. So then I find somebody to take care of my dog, somebody to watch my dog, and I get out here. I take my own flight out here for 2 weeks. I'm out here, and my podcast arm breaks, my my microphone breaks, my phone gets stolen. All this stuff is going on. So maybe it's not funny. It's something that some people would take as bad, but I'm actually kind of a mindset switch.
Yeah.
I'm looking at all these things. I'm trying to find the good in everything. My phone got stolen. What does that mean for me? All right, now I get to practice my navigational skills getting around town. But two, I also get to be more present in the area that I'm in and really take a look at, the things that I'm doing. My podcast, mic arm breaks, like good. I canceled all my podcasts that I had for this week, moved them out to next week. And, that allows me to be here and be even more present and get new equipment. So maybe it's not funny that a bunch of stuff went wrong, but I like the learning lesson of you can make anything into a good situation.
Absolutely. Glasses half full. I mean, I would so much rather, be accused of being Pollyanna than just, a Nelly negative. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, where are you today on your journey as you're scaling up? It's like you continue to expand, from the 4 to the 6 to the now some in the middle there, but then the 43 one you have under contract now. So kind of where are you now and where are you looking to go?
Yeah, so I am, we're working through that contract right now in the 43 unit portfolio. It's a $4.5 million purchase. So looking forward to closing that up. In the near future, I've got it as a goal for myself to get into a $20 million property, and really solidify myself as a syndicator, as a deal creator, as a deal finder, make a name for myself right now coming up in the industry. And then, within the next 2-3 years, I'd like to get $100 million deal under my belt. Just talked with my coach about that today. I'm coming home after a 2-month trip with a lot of realizations, a lot of goals, a lot of clarity on what I want in life. And I'm ready to attack it. I'm ready to go do bigger deals than I have done.
That's great. Yeah.
Nice. So Matt, as you in your world and your financial freedom, is there anything you do to perhaps through your business or perhaps personally that you do to give back in some way to help others?
Yeah, I actually started in high school, my sophomore year of high school. One of my best friends passed away. He was a four sports, technically 4 sports, but a 3-sport athlete, what was allowed in high school. He passed away, so I created a scholarship fund in his name. And that year, actually, because of, it happened that year, we created shirts, all this stuff. We raised around $60,000 to help pay for funeral expenses, things like that. And now my focus has been just donating to that, building that out. And my goal is to have that. Right now, we're giving out a scholarship of $1,000, which to me it's not impressive. I'd like to get to the point where we have enough funds in there to be giving out a $10,000 a year scholarship to it goes to a hardworking high school athlete that's going to play sports in college, and they demonstrate the loyalty, they honor the game, they're nice, kind people to everyone, to their teachers, to their coaches, to their friends, and they're there for them. So, I'm focusing on giving back and contributing through that scholarship.
That's awesome. Very cool. Yeah. Sorry to hear about your friend, but again, that's a nice way that you've chosen to honor him and remember him and help others at the same time. So very nice. Yeah,
man. And he's here with me through my investing. I was told this dime story of, when I find a dime, it's him, saying what's up or what, like, things are going well. And, a few of the properties that I've bought that have been some of my best performers, the day I go see him, I see, I find a dime on the ground. So he's out there, he's with me, doing everything that we're doing. So Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So, Matt, well, it sounds like you're big into continuing the growth pattern, self improvement, all that. With you have a coach also. So, what's something you've recently implemented that's helped you scale your business?
Yeah, I would say bringing on an employee, bringing on people to do the things that aren't high value tasks for me, like answering tenant phone calls and answering Airbnb messages and doing all these things. Takes a lot of the small menial tasks that I shouldn't be doing off of my plate and allows me to focus more higher level. Like honestly, just getting my mindset right is probably one of the most impactful things that I can do, is making sure that I believe in my goals and I know I can accomplish them will give me the actions, the next steps to get that done. So getting all the small things that could take my focus off of those big goals has been huge for growth.
Right.
Nice.
Absolutely. I always talk about, working in your business or on your business, right? You can get bogged down with the day-to-day stuff and not have, like you said, to be able to grow it because you're just in the minutia. I mean, like I said, you can train somebody to do that fairly easy, and you work on the bigger, more CEO level goals. Yeah.
Right. There's a book called Who Not How. And it's why focus on how you can do it? Why not focus on who can do it for you?
Right. Right.
And if it fits in with your business, then you got to find that hoe.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Matt, what advice would you give to somebody who's considering making a path change?
Well, I would make the decision instead of considering what you want to do. Like, decide for yourself. Say, this is where I want to go. This is what I want to do. Okay, you want to find financial freedom? Great. Now there is a perfect map to finding out what you need. If your goal is financial freedom, I'm deciding that this is what I want to do. All right, what does financial freedom look like for you? How much do you spend every single month? Oh, you spend $10,000 a month. So that's what you need to reach financial freedom. Okay, well, how can you get there? So you need to decide what the end is. Financial freedom, $10,000 a month. All right, now we just work backwards. How can we build up $10,000 a month? We're going to buy properties. We're going to buy one business that's going to cash flow that much. And, there's a huge opportunity for businesses out there. There's tons of ways to do it. Real estate's not the only way, but the number one thing is decide. If you don't have your mind set on what you want to do, then you're just going to stay where you're at, where you're comfortable.
Right. Nice. Well said.
Yeah. Well, man, what's the best way for our listeners to reach out to you and find about more what you have going on?
They can reach out on Instagram. I'm pretty active. It's at Matt Amabile, MattAmabile. And, I also have a podcast as well called the Financial Freedom Fast Podcast. That's on Apple and Spotify. And I'm on like Facebook, all that stuff. And I'm really open. Anybody, one of my main things, another contribution that I have is if anyone ever reaches out with a question or they want to talk or they need my advice, I am 100% open to that. And I am there for people who are looking to improve their financial future.
Very nice.
That's great, man. Yeah. And we'll put links to those in the show notes below, so make it easier for people to reach out to you. Well, Matt, we really want to thank you for being on the Road Less Traveled show today. Really enjoyed the conversation and want to wish you continued success.
Bill, Richard, I appreciate both of you. Thank you for having me on. This was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Excellent. Matt, appreciate it. And we also want to thank our listeners. Please continue to give us a 5-star rating so we can bring you more great content like our show today with Matt Amabile. Matt, again, thanks for being on. I want to also remind everybody about two important things Park Capital Partners has going on. First, we have the Park Capital Partners Value Add Fund, which is a 506c fund open today to accredited investors. We also have the Park Capital Partners Foundation, which is a 501(c) nonprofit that Bill and I created as a way that we give back. The way that works quickly is that first we fund the operations of that foundation. So all the money donated to it goes to do its best work, which is to help others. Second, we donate personally. Third, we donate corporately. And then finally, when investors invest with us in one of our projects, we make a donation to honor that investor to a list of 15 pre-selected charities. And again, reach out to Bill and myself. We're always happy to have conversations with investors, with anybody. Our website is parkcapitalpartnersllc.com. Reach out and say hello, and we'll see you out there. Thank you again, Matt. And remember, everybody, the road less traveled may be calling you. We recommend that you listen and take action. Thanks for joining.